On this week's Vero Beach Social Media Pop-Up Podcast, we have the owner of Studio 160, Barry Shapiro. Shot on-site at location at Coffee House 1420. We talk art, ad production, and what stayed the same over the last 40 years. Give it a listen. You're going to love it. I guarantee it. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Vero Beach Social Media Pop-Up Podcast. I'm Curtis Carpenter, and I am here with Barry Shapiro this week. We are sitting at Cafe 1420. Thank you, Chef Michael, for allowing us to use this. But
Coffee House 1420.
Coffee House 1420. Did I say cafe?
You did.
You know what? I've been Googling Cafe 1420, and I don't find it. That must be why.
Good reason.
Coffee House 1420. Thank you, Barry, for
Get it straight. Don't be late.
Thanks for the correction. Again, I'm here with Barry Shapiro. He's the owner of Studio 60. Did I get that right?
No.
Okay. Well.
I am one of. It's kind of a co-op in a way. It's for artists. We just share studio space.
All right.
We call it Studio on 60 because it's an art studio and it's on Route 60.
See, all this stuff makes sense. I don't know why I'm not getting it, but it totally makes sense. But anyway,
get more sleep.
Yeah, I definitely need that. But yeah, I'm here with Barry from Studio on 60, and he was gracious enough to allow us to shoot a podcast over there with Luke Holbauer, which came out last week.
Which was great. I saw it.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you liked it. But anyhow, Barry, we're going to talk a little bit about Studio 160, but what I really want to talk to you about is you've got an extensive history as a video maker, producer, ad creator. Well, let's not get into that yet. You will tell us a little bit about what you did, and I really want to hear about it. But first, let's hear about Studio 160. So keep going about this. Co-op with artists.
Well, I've been in the arts and art my whole life. And when I moved to Vero, I had been away from the fine arts for a while. And there was just an opportunity, for a number of years, I owned Lighthouse Art and Framing on 14th Street. And so what I saw it as an opportunity to get back into painting, which was my love. And actually what I had gone to college for, I went to art school. I went to Pratt Institute and studied painting and printmaking.
All right.
So I really jumped back into it. And then after I closed Lighthouse, I was painting in my little room that Patricia had allotted to me at home. And I needed more room because I like to work large. And I started looking around for space. And I ran into another local artist, Zach Gruber. And it was interesting. Zach and I didn't know each other that well, but we had a lot of shared history. We both went to Pratt. We both were painters and artists, but also we both worked in the film industry.
Interesting.
So we said, well, let's look for a space together. We looked for a while, and then we were very fortunate to find this place right here. We have a great landlord, Joe Cataldo, who worked with us. And so we moved in, but we were looking for other people to share the space. And, we've had different people in and out. Right now, it's Zach, myself, Lisa Cave, a lovely young artist. And as of this week, Mary Lou Mullen has come in with us. And usually for 3 or 4 months in the winter, a gentleman named Jay comes down from New York, and he's an older gentleman, and he likes to come in. And I think he likes to get out of the house, and he comes in and paints with us as well.
Okay. So it's a studio. It's not a gallery.
It's not a gallery. It's a studio. It's a working studio. We occasionally, before the pandemic, we were doing art classes occasionally in there and different projects. We had open studio night. We would do the art strolls. But we're not really a gallery. It is a working studio. It's not, white walls and paintings on the walls. It's a mess.
Well, I'll tell you, from shooting that podcast in there, it's definitely a working studio. We had to move some massive easels with big pieces of art around in order to accommodate. But it's a really cool spot. How often are you in there, or at least one person in there? Maybe not you.
Well, one of the good things, we all like to work different times. Zach likes to work at night. I like to work in the afternoons. Lisa's usually there in the morning. So it varies, but we can all be in there at the same time. Honestly, I try to get in there every day when I don't have to be somewhere else. Like on Fridays, I teach art. So I'm not in the studio on Friday, but I try to be in there Monday through Saturday, otherwise, or even Sunday. And I usually go in, sometime in the afternoon, and we'll work 3-4 hours as I can.
Where are you teaching art?
I teach at Suncoast Primary School up by the airport.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
It's I started this last year for the first time. I've taught at the college level and high school level. This opportunity came up, and I don't know why. I said, I want to see if they'd be interested in me, and I was shocked when they hired me. I really was, and I love it. I love it. This is my second year. It's not easy, man. It is hard work.
How old are these kids?
Kindergarten through 8th grade.
So now I'm going to go deeper into this because I had no clue about any of this. Which are the easier kids to teach, the 5-year-olds or the 13-year-olds?
Okay. The easiest class is kindergarten.
Okay.
I could walk in there, because that class is also the shortest. It's only half an hour. I could walk in there and go, boo, for half an hour, and they would go, yay! Anything I do, they love it.
Right.
They're adorable. The oldest kids, the 7th and 8th graders, they're great. They're really great. The toughest kids are really those, like the 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, because they're just full of hormones. They're just jumping all the time. They have basically they talk at 2 different levels, loud and screaming.
Interesting.
And it's, you've heard the term, it's like herding kittens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many kids are in a class?
It varies. You figure on average about 10 kids in a class.
Okay. All right. So not too bad.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But, I got probably about 13, 14 5th graders. And, I'd like to strangle them half the time. I love them. But, last Friday was great. We had tie-dye day.
Oh.
So every kid in the school had white T-shirts, and we did tie-dyes all day. And man, it was so funny, especially with the kindergartners.
Should I bring you back to the 60s and 70s?
Oh, dude. Peace out, babe. I told the kids, it was funny. I said, okay, we've got 2 ways of doing this. The first way is the traditional tie-dye. I call it the Grateful Dead look. And they're all looking at me like, what's he doing?
Who's that?
And that's where you sort of make a big round design on your shirt. And the other is a more modern look where you kind of roll the shirt up and you get stripes. Most of them were like, I don't want to do Grateful Dead. I don't even know what that is. I just want to do stripes. So, but it was funny, really fun stuff.
Again, I had no clue that you were teaching art. I would have definitely put it into my notes to ask you about, but I think we got more out of it because I didn't know that you were doing it.
Because I'm not a trained teacher, I don't have a degree, a certificate in teaching. I do things differently. I'm not your normal teacher. I always look for projects that can be done where they can work as a team, or where they're doing the same project and they have to look at what the other kids are doing and interact. I try to make it more than about art. These kids, most of them are not going to grow up to be Picasso.
Sure.
But if they can have a certain kind of experience to bring art in their life, that's what I'm looking for. So this year, there was a wonderful, wonderful exhibit at the Vero Beach Museum of Art, the Christo and Jean-Claude exhibit.
Oh, was that where they had the big
where
stuff hanging everywhere?
They wrapped Christo and Jean-Claude, worldwide famous artists, for wrapping. Like right now in Paris, France, the Arc de Triomphe is wrapped in canvas.
Right.
They've wrapped the Reichstag in Berlin. They wrapped 3 islands in Biscayne Bay in Miami, if you recall that.
Yep.
So this was a terrific exhibit because not only did it show some of what they wrapped, but it showed their process drawings and plans. So the kids I took the seventh and eighth graders. I took them to see it. They flipped out.
Yeah.
And now they're wrapping. They wrapped a sculpture that we made last year that's in the parking lot. They wrapped that, and now we're wrapping a tree.
That's great. Yeah, I met with Sophie over at the museum. We did some work with them to try and promote that. When they have exhibits coming, we usually end up doing something with them.
Let me say this: kudos to the museum. They're great over there.
Awesome.
Sophie, Sarah, they were so generous and allowing us to come in the way they did. It was a great experience.
Yeah, no, Vero Beach Museum of Art's always doing phenomenal things.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest places you can go. I mean, it's a nonprofit museum, but if you walk in there, it looks like $1 million.
Well, look, you have to think about it. This is a little town. Vero Beach is not a big town.
Yeah.
It's a little town in not a big county. And we have a world-class art museum.
For sure.
A world-class art museum with world-class work in it. So, I mean, how fortunate are we to have that here?
Yeah. La Ficomania, I don't know if you saw when they had the French posters and all that stuff up there, but we did a lot of work with that. And it was so cool seeing these old posters and old work. But it got into advertising a little bit because that was an original way to advertise. I mean, they'd go out on the square and they'd hold these posters and put them up. And it was really cool for me to see how we've advanced in the last, 150 years on advertising.
Sure.
But posters were the way it went.
Yeah.
But speaking of advertising, speaking of how we advertise, I want to talk to you. I want to kind of switch gears and get into your video production career. Talk to us about how that started, what you did, where you worked. I'm intrigued by this.
Wow. Okay. So, as I said, I went to art school. I went to Pratt, and I had to work my way through school. I had to pay my way through school.
And so you told me the story about the Italian restaurant.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, I would get their jobs. Plus, I had a job working at the school, work-study program. So, anyhow, I knew a guy. His name was Casey. He became a friend of mine, and he was a year older than me, and he was a photographer, and he was into the film industry. And one day he said, "Hey, you want to make a couple of bucks? I need a production assistant to work with me on this TV commercial shoot." I was like, "Sure." And
money? Okay.
Money, $35 a day. It was a lot of money. This was 1972.
Okay.
$35. Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I went with him, and my job was to sit in the truck when we went from place to place to pick up equipment or drop off equipment or whatever. And I think the first production I worked on was a big thing for Time Life books.
Okay.
And we were pretending to blow up a building in the South Bronx in the ghetto. With the Loiseau family, the family is famous for imploding buildings.
Okay.
Ironically, years later, I wound up working with Tom Loiseau, who was a terrific cameraman. But that's another story. Anyhow, so I was, just sitting on the truck. And one day I remember they were working in a studio on Madison Avenue, and I was sitting on the truck making sure we didn't get a ticket or get moved. And this guy comes down and he says, "They want you upstairs." And I said, "Me?" He said, "Yeah, they want you upstairs." So I go up, and there was a fellow there who's the director. His name was Norm. I remember Norm very well. And Norm said, "Hey, Casey tells me you're an artist." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You know how to paint?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Great, come with me." And he takes me into this room, and in this room, there are like 3 big fat raw turkeys and 3 big fat hams and all kinds of food and all kinds of other stuff. And he goes, "Look, our home economist didn't show up today. Well, I don't know what happened to her, but she's either late or something. And we're on a timeline. I need you to paint these turkeys, make them look like they just came out of the oven." And I was like, "You're kidding." He said, "No, that's what I need." I was like, "Okay, well, what do I use?" He goes, "You got paint, you got shellac, you got whatever you need. Just do it."
It's all here. Yeah.
And I did it. Of course, they didn't pay me any extra. I got my $35 for the day, but it was an exciting thing. And I thought, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So I started working as a production assistant. But I had no idea that I would get into that business. I wanted to be an artist. So when I got out of school, I had a choice to go to grad school or do something else, and I chose something else. I traveled for close to 2 years around the world. That was my grad school.
Gotcha.
And
you probably learned more in that 2 years than you would have in grad school.
it was probably going to art school to start, and then going around the world was probably the two defining moments in my life. So, man, I came back, and I was trying to make it as a painter. It wasn't happening. What I was doing at that time wasn't in Soho. So I, started looking for work again. And I was bartending, doing a lot of different things, some art-related things. And I met a very successful illustrator. We became friends named Marvin Madelson, and I was showing him some of the stuff that I was doing. And I said, Marvin, you think I could get work doing illustration? And he said, don't show me anything unless you're willing to take painful criticism. And I said, all right. Well, I got nothing to lose. So he looked at I was doing printmaking at the time. He looked at all my stuff and he went, okay. And he wrote something on a piece of paper and hands it to me. I said, what's that? He says, that's the name and phone number for Judy Fendelman at New York Magazine. Go see her. And I started working as an illustrator.
Oh, man.
And so I was doing that, and I got married, which didn't last too long, but I was really struggling. I wasn't making a lot of money. And it was a hard time. And I said, I got to get out of the house. I need to do something. I thought, if I could work as a PA, even though it's $35 a day and I make much more as doing illustration, at least I'm out of the house. Because, the kind of illustration I was doing, New York Magazine, New York Times, Psychology Today magazine, these people would, all week long, I'd be going to take my book here, my book there, and then they call me on a Friday afternoon and say, we got an assignment for you to do Monday morning.
Right.
I guess I'm not going to the beach this weekend. It was driving me crazy. So I called an old friend of mine, a guy I had met from the business. And I said, can I work as a PA? And he said, no, you're too old. He said, I'm using these kids. They're making $75 a day. The price had gone up. And I said, Joe, please, I'm begging you. I don't care. I'll do anything. He said, well, I'll tell you what, we're working on a big industrial for GE. I could use some help. Come on in. So they had me working in the office for a few days. And then someone came up and said, we need you on a crew tomorrow. Are you available? I said, absolutely. So I went with this small crew to Connecticut, to some supermarket, to shoot scenes. And I was the production assistant, but there was no other production assistant, and the director was really relying on me. And we got along, and the assistant director also. And so those guys started to feed me work. And I started working as a production assistant, and I thought, I could work in the prop department, makes good money, and I'm artistic. I could do this. So I started to sort of work my way into that, and I was doing tabletop commercials, whatnot, as a props assistant. And one day we were working on a Mountain Dew commercial.
Okay.
And my job was to take care of all of these cases of soda and all of these props that we had for the spot. And I was very organized. And this guy walks up to me and he said, Barry, right? He goes, you know who I am? I said, well, I don't know your name, but you're the guy who writes the checks, right? He said, that I am. He said, and we have a new company that we're putting together, and I need a coordinator. Are you interested? And I said, I don't even know what that is. I've never done that. I don't know. He goes, well, I mean, that's part of, you're very organized. I see the kind of work you do, and I can show you to do things the way I want you to do them. I said, well, he goes, what does it pay? He goes, about at least twice what you're making now. I said, I'll do it.
Of course.
And that was it. That's literally how I got into the film industry.
What was the company?
The company I was working for at the time was called Movie House, and the new company was called Normandy Films. And so I started working as the in-house coordinator for Normandy Films. And I soon learned that this guy who had hired me, he was not the most honest guy around. And I started to learn, if I want to be in this business, don't do it the way he's doing it. Learn the right way.
Sure.
So I started to go around to other places, other companies, and learn what the right way was. And I had worked my way up from coordinator to producer to finally I was the guy at Normandy that was signing the checks. So whenever Norman wouldn't pay anybody, they'd call me up and they'd say, "It was a story," and I'd pay them.
Right.
In the meantime, I was learning the business on the job. I knew nothing about it, but I was learning on the job. I was learning about film and crews, and I had worked on a couple of movies. I had worked on a couple of TV shows, but mostly doing TV commercials.
Right.
And so one day we were shooting. We just do a lot of promos, especially for television and Broadway. And we were doing some stuff. NBC was a client. And we were shooting, I'll never forget this, we were shooting in Caldwell State Penitentiary.
Okay.
They had an old wing of the penitentiary that they used to use for movies and TV shows. And so we had set up in there, and I had set up a little office in a cell. So it's just, I was in there, and James Ellis, who was my good friend, who's still my good friend, and she was the script supervisor. She's actually today, she's Mrs. Roger Deakins. I don't know if you're familiar with Roger Deakins, the Academy Award-winning cinematographer.
No.
Fargo.
Oh, okay.
1914, films like that.
Yeah.
And we were in this little cell, and the head teamster walks in. And now, you didn't mess with the teamster.
Jimmy Hoffa?
No, the head teamster on the crew.
Oh.
The guy who, the trucks don't go out with this guy. And this guy, his name was Kenny Manchester. And Kenny was the biggest human being I've ever known.
Not as Italian as I thought it was going to be.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. And Kenny was this massive guy. I mean, I had seen him pick up things that 5 men could not pick up. And he walks in, and he walks into the cell. He's taking up like half the room in this jail cell. And he looks at me and he says, "Hey, I want to talk to you. I want to ask you something." Literally, that's what he sounded like.
Okay.
In fact, they did a parody of Film Teamsters once that was circulating, and the voice was meant to imitate Kenny. And he said, "Your boss is trying to handle me again." And I said, "Ken, don't worry about it. I'll take care of you." He goes, "I know. That's why I came in to talk to you." I said, "What?" He goes, "When are you going on your own?" I said, "Going on my own? Doing what?" He says, "When are you going to start your own company?" I said, "Kenny, I don't know how to start." He says, "You'll be fine. When you're ready, you let me know." And he walks out. Well, several months down the road, I got a call from an ad agency producer who we've done a lot of work with at big ad agency, Y&R, Young and Rubicam. And I think at that point, he might have been working for J. Walter Thompson. I don't know, these guys moved around, but his name was Peter, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, I've got a little job I want you to do. It's tabletop." I said, "Okay, shoot it over to Norman's office and I'll go pick it." He said, No, this is for you."
Nice.
I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I don't want Norman involved. This is for you. This is you can do this." I said, "Well, you got to have a company to do it." He says, "Get one." And I'm like,
fill out the paperwork, Barry. Come on.
So my good buddy Tony, whose daughter Allie is getting married Friday, and she's my goddaughter. And my good buddy, he's an attorney. And I call him up. I said, "Tony, I need a company like Monday." And he said, "Well, dude, you don't have the money to start another company." I had already started a design company that failed. And he said, "Just use the design company." I said, "Well, it's a weird name. I don't know. It's not right for the film business." And he said, "Barry, save yourself $300. Just use it." And the name of that design company was Look Ma, No Hands.
Okay.
So I just shortened it to No Hands Productions. And we did this. It was for, the commercial was for Theragram vitamins.
Okay.
And I did it. And it worked out. And I started doing all these little jobs here and there.
Did you call Kenny Manchester and say, hey, I got no hands production?
See, so this is what happened. So this guy I knew, an assistant director, comes up to me one day. His name was David. And he said, hey, I hear you've got a company. And I said, well, yeah, I got a little company. He said, here's my reel. Get us work. And I said, I don't know how to do that. He said, you're Jewish. Figure it out.
Okay.
So I got us work. I don't know how it happened, but we had this job to do. It was like a real job with actors and stuff. And so I needed a camera, a big camera, and I wanted to get a Panavision camera. And Panavision was special. It was different than the other film cameras. There were only so many Panavision cameras, and you had to be a big company. There were only 3 companies in the United States at the time that actually rented Panavision. General in New York, Claremont, I think it was Claremont in LA, and then this company in Miami. That was it. So I called up Panavision, and they knew me from Normandy.
Right.
And I asked them for a camera, and they said, Barry, there's no way you're getting a camera. You know, go to one of the other. I said, yeah, my cameraman really wants to work with Panavision, and it's so and so. Come on, and they're like, Barry, no, there's no way. We got cameras booked up, Steve Horn, Bob Girollo, all these big names. You're not getting a camera. And I was like, and I'm talking to the head of the camera rental department, who knows me.
Right.
And I said, Sal, please help me out. He says, nothing I can do. Call Scotty. Scotty was the head of the rental department. I call up Scotty, and he says, Barry, there's no way.
Right.
No way. First of all, you don't even have an account with us. Anyhow, I said, all right, so I hang up the phone. And I said, all right, I'll get a camera from someone at Camera Mart or some other company. And about half an hour later, my phone rings. And it's Sal, the camera department rental guy. And he says, Barry. Yeah, he goes, who the hell are you? I said, what do you mean? He goes, because I got to give you a camera. And I said, you do? He said,
good
yeah.
News.
I said, why? Just asking why. He goes, because if I don't give you a camera, none of the other cameras are going out the door.
Kenny Manchester.
Kenny Manchester.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's how I got started. And No Hands Productions was in business for about 10, 11, 12 years. And then I went out on my own as a director.
So now we're going to get into the nitty gritty about the differences and the things about shooting back in the 1970s and shooting in 2020.
Oh, you can't compare.
I mean, it's totally different worlds now.
Well, first of all, we didn't use video. I mean, there was no video. There was video. Video was used in TV.
Okay.
There was some video being shot, but you got to understand that there were no today a video camera's your phone has more information on it than any video camera back in the day.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cameras shooting on us right now.
Yeah, and so what we would do is we would do for a 3-camera shoot, we would have these cameras. I mean, I remember some of the early jobs I used to do, shampoo spots. We would shoot with what was called a BNC. It was this camera. It was about yay big. And when it was spooling the film, it'd be, I mean.
So how do you kill the sound on it? Like right now we have house music that's kind of loud, but I mean, these microphones are pretty good. We have some audio editing that we can do. How do you kill the sound in a spool?
First of all, we were shooting 35mm TV commercials on 35mm film. No, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Hardly any features are now being shot on 35mm film anymore.
Yeah.
Everything is digital.
Oh, for sure.
The first time I saw a videotape was in a TV studio. I'd gone in to shoot some stuff in this studio. It was called Unitel, and the videotape was 2 inches thick. And this phone has 1 million times the capacity to have 1 million times more data on it than that 2-inch tape.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, it's a different world. We used to shoot on film. We take the film that day, shot that day, to the lab where they develop it overnight. We go in early in the morning and look at the rushes or the dailies, on what they called answer prints. Okay. So these were low light prints. Check everything out, make sure there weren't any big mistakes. Go back the next day and shoot again. Then we would send that film out to a place like Movie Lab or something like that, and have it processed, and then it would go to an editor who would cut on a moviola, literally cutting film.
Right.
Cutting the answer film, and then they would send that, take his cut answer print, and would then he would then transfer it to one piece of film,
right?
Final cut, and then we start transferring it. I remember when we started editing on videotape. Suddenly we were using 3/4-inch U-matics to edit on, and then suddenly it was like, well, this is really a pain in the ass. But then we had like multiple U-matics to cut, A roll, B roll, etc. And then one day I got a call. I had invested with a guy named Chris Strand, who was at the time at MTV, and or Fred Allen, or one of the big MTV agencies or something. And we had invested in our own editing company, Edit One it was called. We had U-matics, film, and all of this video equipment. And I got a call one day, and they said, "Hi, you're the producer at No Hands Productions. We'd like to, and Edit One, we'd like to introduce you to a brand new edit system." And I said, "Well, I'm not really the editor. Chris is the guy who runs the edit company, but I'd like to see what you've got." And I made an appointment, and on that day, I think it was a Wednesday, and I walked from my office several blocks across town to this other office, and I walk in, and they had rented some empty office space, so there was just a chair to sit in.
Right.
And after a while, someone comes, "Well, come on into this room." And I go in, and there is a Macintosh computer, a tower type computer on the floor, and 3 monitors and a keyboard. And I said, "So what are we doing?" And they said, "This is something called the Avid digital editing system. Let me show you how it works." And after that 45 minutes, I went back to my office. I called up Chris and I said, "Sell everything. We're doomed." Now, people do the exact same type of editing. They do it on their laptops.
Yeah, I mean, we're cutting film. That's what they call it.
Yeah,
it's funny to me. But we cut film, we splice it, we slice it, we tape it, we move it, we merge it, we do everything without ever touching anything except for a mouse and a keyboard.
And all of those systems are based on the old systems that were developed, back before the day.
Right. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. When for example, when you're editing, you probably keep things in what they call bins, right?
Sure. Oh yeah.
Well, bins were literally bins on wheels that, they had a canvas bottom, and they had things that came up with little spikes off of them, and that's what you hung the film on. So this bin was for these scenes, and this bin was for that. Those bins, because they were bins.
They were actual bins.
They were actual bins.
Reminds me a little bit of when I was an X-ray tech. I was a tech when we went from film to digital. And yeah, I remember hanging film. One of the first jobs I ever had was hanging film in a reading room where the radiologist came in and read film on these multi-board, I can't even remember what they call them, but these multi-board light boxes, these view boxes. And that went away, and all of a sudden the same room was there, but we pulled the light boxes out, put computers in, and now they read off computers.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't been in the field in a while, but that's how they do it now. Sure. But I remember that transition, and it was tough for a lot of people. I mean, technologically illiterate radiologists had to go from moving actual film to typing and scrolling, and
sure.
You had to change the window or the level, and oh man, it was wild. So I can't imagine. I mean, I saw that transition from like 2000, maybe 1999, 2000, 2001, and then I got out in about 2015. So that 15 years was unbelievably different. You know, from 2000 to 2015, it was just another world.
Yeah.
You're talking about you started doing film work in what, 72?
Well, as a PA, I mean, I started No Hands Productions in probably, I'm thinking 85.
Okay. Well, you started the production company, but you saw film being produced
Oh, yeah.
in the early 70s.
Yeah.
We're in the early 2020, 50 years. I can't imagine the world of difference.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's a different industry today.
So we all know that there's a million differences. What do you see in commercial shooting specifically, because we're in marketing? What do you see specifically that is the same?
You either have talent or you don't. That's the big thing. One of the things that digital technology did is it opened up the industry to everyone, which on some levels is a good thing. But on another level, it watered down the field of creativity. What I find is that even today, the cream always rises to the top. The people who are, visionary, give them a break and they will do incredible things. Anybody can go out with a camera and shoot stuff and put it on YouTube every day. But, most of the stuff you see is like, okay, I could do that.
Right.
And if you look at, I spent most of my career in television commercials and advertising, and I did everything from write commercials to art direct them, to produce them, to direct them. I pretty much understand what that industry was and what it is not today. So much has changed. But the one thing that hasn't changed is talent. If you've got real talent, if you watch if you sit down for an hour and watch any given, watch TBS or CBS or whatever, you're going to see, for every hour of programming, you're going to see 32 minutes of ads. You're not going to realize that.
Right.
And you're getting bombarded with advertising. And there are ads that you look at and you go, oh wow, that's really good.
Right.
And then most of them you'll sit there and go, I don't know what that is. I don't care.
What did I just watch?
Yeah. Or you won't even say that because you won't remember. You won't really care.
Right.
And then there are the ones that you'll see. And this was a philosophy that I never, ever bought into. But they're so bad, almost intentionally bad.
Right.
They're usually local. No, not always, but usually they're local. And they're just so bad that you're like, and you'll remember it because it was so bad.
Right.
But the one, for example, I have to say right now, some of the best advertising that I have seen on television is being done for Publix.
Really?
They're doing, I don't know who their agency is, but they're writing some beautiful, heartfelt stuff that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And, my wife also worked in the industry for years and years. And
We should have Patricia on.
Yeah, you should get her on, but she won't do it. But, we watch these things and we see them from a different, maybe a jaundiced eye, I don't know, but we see them differently than most people.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah, and we sat there. We were watching some ad that we were watching. She was like, wow, it's good. And it was for Publix. We were shocked.
Yeah.
So whatever agency is working for them now is doing a great job.
I have to look it up.
Yeah.
I'll have to figure out who that is. That's interesting. Yeah.
So, I think the technology is always going to change. Things are faster, easier. The first video cameras, were garbage.
Yeah.
I remember my boss Norman. We had done a big package for the U.S. Navy. We were down in this again back in the early '80s. In fact, I know it was 1980 exactly.
You remember the Phillies won the World Series or something? That's how I remember years.
It was the year I got married.
Oh, okay.
That's why I remember. And we were shooting this big package for the Navy. Remember, it's not just a job, it's an adventure. And we were down in Puerto Rico on this destroyer for like a week or so, shooting all of this stuff. and we wanted. It was October when we went down there. So we came back. We finished the commercials and whatnot. My boss Norman wanted to. There was a lot of payola, so to speak, in those days, and we wanted to give our clients some really nice Christmas gifts. So Norman spent a small arm and a leg and bought these brand new things, the hottest thing, video cameras. They were this big. They came in boxes this big. And I was the guy who brought them up to the agency to deliver them. And I remember, the producer, Rob, he was like, oh, thank you so much. We gave him that with a box of Cuban cigars. And we gave it, to the art director. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. And then we gave it to the writer who was, kind of the head creative. And this is another thing that's a little different. He looked at me and he went, what's this? He said, Merry Christmas, from Normandy Films. And he went, are you kidding me? Get this garbage out of here. I said, what? He goes, cash.
Take it back.
Next day I was back with, a couple grand in an envelope.
Must have been nice to be working for Normandy Productions in Christmas of 1980.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's what the industry was like.
Right.
I mean, the industry was crazy back in those days. I had a drug budget.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
On all the big shoots, I had a drug budget because everybody was doing drugs.
So how accurate? I'm assuming you watched Mad Men.
Nope.
You never saw Mad Men.
I lived Mad Men.
I know, but I wanted to ask you how accurate it was. I know it's a little before your time.
People would always say, "Oh, what did you think of Mad Men?"
Right.
And I said, I had no interest. I lived that. I knew about the 3 martini lunch.
Right.
I knew about the drugs and all of the inappropriateness and all. I lived that.
Right.
I didn't really want to relive it. I didn't really care.
Yeah. I imagine there were a lot of great times, but there were probably some pretty shitty times too.
It was hard. People don't realize it was hard work.
Yeah.
People, oh, how glamorous. Well,
that's what's on AMC, not in real life.
Yeah, no. It was really hard work. First of all, there were a lot of people who wanted to be in that business.
Yeah.
So, as I said, the cream would always rise to the top. If you weren't really good at it, you weren't at it very long.
Right.
You had to bust your butt. You worked long hours. I mean, we made a lot of money.
Right.
Sometimes obscene amounts of money.
Right.
But we worked for it. We worked really hard. Not just because we put in long hours, but long, arduous hours. We did all kinds of things. You had to think on your feet. And you got to remember, you never did the same thing twice.
Right.
Everything was always new. You were always creating, recreating, and everything had to be, recreated every day.
Andy, does this sound kind of familiar? This is, I know that it was different back then, but you're describing advertisers' lives today.
Well, they say the product is never finished. You can always keep working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
today is a lot easier though because you have a digital version rather than physical. So
yeah, we can do it on a laptop.
I can empty my recycle bin.
Look, I remember I was telling someone the story the other day about a shoot we did in Jamaica, Yaman. This was probably also when I was at Movie House, it was at Normandy, and we were shooting. And part of what we had to do, we were shooting. This was an early music video.
Wow, music video.
Yeah,
right.
And we were shooting with this Jamaican reggae rock band, but also going down to shoot the Sun King Music Festival in Mobay. And I flew down from New York with the film and all the camera equipment. I had 16 boxes of camera equipment. 16 boxes, of camera equipment. Today you walk around with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a lot of equipment. As you can see, we have a big truck, like a
dude,
like
You
it's
call
not-
this a lot of equipment.
It's not 16 boxes, but we have a lot of equipment.
You got a couple of bags of stuff, man. That's what you got. It is nothing.
Most of it's backup stuff anyway. That's what, most of the cameras we use primarily too, but you got to have that what if, right?
Well, of course, and you always want to do that and cover your butt. But that's you're talking about the difference between then and now. That's just one other of the differences. Film equipment. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my biggest question for you was what's the same, and I do like your answer, which is you got to be talented.
You got to have
you got to be good.
You got to have the bones.
Yeah.
You got to have the bones.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the bones, you're just like Joe Blow on the street who's got a little GoPro and hey, I can shoot.
Right.
And
shooting good content is the same in 1968 as it is in 2021.
Absolutely. And people can tell the difference. They might not understand the aesthetics or what's behind it, but people know.
Yeah.
People will watch that, like that public commercial that Patricia and I watched, just because we were professionals once.
Right.
We're still viewers. People will watch that and they'll be moved. It was a moving message in this piece about family and all of that, as opposed to something that's kind of slapped together. I won't mention the name. There's a guy who was in the mortgage business or something, and he was running these ads, and they were, just kind of a close up on him, and he was talking about his personal experience, why he got into the business, why he believed that debt was damaging and he wanted to mitigate debt for his customers because of what it had done to his family. And these were really straightforward. He had on a suit but no tie, and we were thinking, this guy's got a great approach because people will believe him.
Right.
And these ads were running for months. And then one day we saw him, and suddenly he's got this big digital display behind him, and he's like, hey, I'm rubber, and it's like huckstering. And I'm like, oh.
He just lost his brand.
He just lost his brand.
Like that.
Like that. He came across as a total, can I use the word schmuck?
You say whatever you want.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
He came across like a schmuck,
Yeah.
like just another huckster, trying to get your dough.
Right.
As opposed to, I'm serious about helping my customers and helping you. Right. And if you're interested, look me up.
Yeah.
That's an approach where people say, oh, wow, that guy seems like a good guy. I want to go there and talk to him. As opposed to everybody else is like, hey, look at me, look at me.
We do a lot of real estate stuff, and we talk to realtors about that all the time. I literally, right before we came here, I had a meeting with a realtor, and I was talking about being authentic and genuine. You can't be salesy. People see right through it.
Absolutely.
Right through it. Be authentic, be who you are. And like you said, you have to brand yourself. I mean, if you go and you're this guy today and that guy tomorrow, you're nobody.
That's right.
So yeah.
Because then people don't know what you are.
Right. And then they won't trust you. So, and that's trustworthiness, not to cut you off, is the biggest thing I think in any industry, in any business.
Absolutely.
If I come here and this coffee, which was amazing, by the way, but if this coffee, I don't know, wasn't very good, why would I trust them to make a good coffee next time? They've lost my trust. So,
Michael, hats off to Michael Glatz.
This place is unbelievably awesome, by the way.
He has a commitment to excellence.
Yeah.
That's why he stands apart from other similar or places, because of his personal commitment to excellence, which is what he infuses into his team. I mean, look around at this place. This place is beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, I love this place. Since they've opened up, I've popped in here every now and then. And there's another coffee shop around here. I won't mention the name, but I don't go there anymore. I come here and
they're
just
great
like
people.
this place a lot.
And I like those people. They're great
Yeah.
people. They have good product, but it's a different atmosphere. It's a different kind of thing. And so Michael has a commitment to excellence. He cares about that cup of coffee that you drank.
It was really good. And, they had their 1 year anniversary just recently, and we came in and they had coffee sitting out there. We had it. It was good then. And every time I come in here, I mean, it's amazingly good. I'm going to try and get him on one of these podcasts eventually so we can talk about this place.
He's got stories to tell, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
He does. But, getting back to the industry, as I said, I think the one thing that never changes is excellence. you know, I think I said the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
You know, if you have talent and you have commitment and you're willing to do what it takes to get the job done, you'll go places.
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't matter if you'll go places in the digital world or whatever.
Right.
In whatever, that I think holds true for whatever business you're in.
Yeah. No, I'll agree with that. But it's really all I had. Who wins tonight? I know that this podcast won't air until like the World Series, but we are shooting this on the day that the Yankees and Red Sox are playing a wild card game. So we don't know who wins.
We do not. And, you know, I'll be home, like biting my nails on the sofa. And,
well, Andy behind you is a big Red Sox fan, so I don't know if you have anything.
I'm pretty sure the Red Sox are going to win.
Talk to the hand. I gotta tell you, I have no idea. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I'm a diehard, lifelong Yankees fan. I love baseball. Baseball's my game. I love it. But tonight, it's anybody's game. You're going to have two very good pitchers, both who stunk it up last time they were pitching. So they'll both be looking for redemption.
Well, as we talked about, Garrett Cole isn't usually bad 2 games in a row.
That's right.
So
That's right.
we'll see.
But, it's Fenway Park. And in Fenway Park, anything can happen. Like I told you earlier, 1978, 77, 78, whatever it was, the famous Bucky effing Dent home run. I was there. I was working in Boston at the time.
Well, we won't talk about what happened in that World Series either. So
Right. So, but, I think the Dodgers, they got a tough one tomorrow.
yeah, and then if the Dodgers win tomorrow, by the way, we're shooting this on Tuesday, whatever the date is, the 5th. The Dodgers play Wednesday, October 6th, which is my son's 13th birthday, by the way. He's a big Dodger fan, so they're going to have to win for that. But if they win, then they got to play the Giants. So 107-win Giants versus 106-win Dodgers, possibly.
That's going to be great.
Oh, man. Well, I hope it's them and not the 85-win Cardinals or whatever.
No. Well, I mean, look, Cardinals came on so strong, but
They remind me a lot. I'm sorry to cut you off. They remind me a lot of the Nationals in 2018.
Yes.
2019 Cardinals. Or Nationals.
The Nationals. I agree.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also am looking forward to a Dodger-Giants series. And I'm sorry I have to tell you this, but I'm rooting for the Giants.
Well, I'm really hoping. I think, first of all, I think the Rays make the World Series again. I hope the Dodgers make the World Series again. We have a rematch. But in a utopian world, it would be the Dodgers-Yankees. I've been waiting for that World Series since I was a little kid. I would love to see that.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah.
You and me both. But I have to say, and I love my Yankees, but Tampa has their number. And Tampa is an incredible team. I love the way they play baseball.
Yeah, we talked about that when we shot the podcast in your studio. We both are Rays fans, and then
Love the way they go about their business.
Yeah, me too. Well, Andy, will you grab the cups over there? We got a little something for you and Patricia.
Oh.
Andy's gonna grab them for us. Oh, those were just in there, but we'll give those two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, look at
Yeah,
that.
we know that you guys aren't, we have these big tumblers, and I figured you guys were more winos.
Yeah,
I don't
we
know
are.
why I assumed that. but-
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Pins
Thanks,
and
man.
koozies too, and we just want to thank you for coming on and for
Oh,
your generosity
that's
and
really
letting
great.
us shoot over in the studio
You
and
can never have enough pens.
never have enough.
Never
We
have
bought a million of those things.
That's
So,
great.
so anyhow,
That's great. I like the color.
good. Yeah.
So,
So
Vero beats social media.
there you go.
That's how you know he's been in show business. He knows to pose for the camera.
That's right. There you go. Yeah, one more time. Vero beats social media.
So
Thanks, man.
I appreciate the shout out, and thank you very much for coming on. And that's going to do it from us. Again, we are here at Coffee House 1420 with Barry Shapiro, who's with Studio on 60.
There you go.
See, I'm a quick learner, and that's going to do it. So thank you again, Barry, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.